Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome back to Adventure Capital, where we not only discuss the entrepreneurial journeys and adventures with founders who have raised capital on WeFunder, but also the different resource providers and mentors helping founders along the way. Huzzah! Today we have Sara Moll of Vin Social, your go-to virtual hospitality pioneers, helping companies increase revenue and grow relationships. Nothing like pairing a glass of wine with your community's growth. WeFunder gang, take it away.
Today on the podcast, we have Sara Moll, founder of Vin Social. We are so excited. Your campaign closed in October of 2021. Looks like you raised just under $270,000 from around 125 investors. So welcome, Sara.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It's great to reconnect with the WeFunder crew.
Yes. To kick us off, can you just give us a brief overview of Vin Social?
Absolutely. So a little bit about me. My name is Sara Moll, right? I'm the founder and CEO of Vin Social. I also happen to be a certified wine nerd. So I've got, a certified sommelier credential, certified specialist of wine, yada, yada. Had a former background in the fashion industry. So it all kind of came together with Vin Social as an experiential wine company. But we really hit a nerve with a pivot in 2020 when we went heavily after the virtual environment to bring our wine experiences to life. So Vin Social is today a very premium virtual events production company stitched with an e-commerce platform that has national alcohol beverage fulfillment. So we primarily partner with the Fortune 1000, mostly in the tech sector, so companies. So we really primarily are B2B, helping them sort of pivot their engagement, their relationship management into the virtual environment, right? We all know business gets done on the bar stool, not in the boardroom. So we have become sort of the virtual bar stool by enabling them to do sales enablement through virtual hospitality. So, very customized, high skill gifting of, wine, spirits, cocktails, et cetera. And then bringing all of their guests together in a private, highly produced virtual experience centered around the exploration of the product they received.
So walk us through an example of that. Let's say I'm, Google, and I want to engage with Vin Social. What does that experience look like? Who are the kind of users? How do they interact? I'm really curious.
Yeah, so about 90% of our events, we partner with internal stakeholders within an organization that are on the revenue side of the business. So these are chief revenue officers, VPs of sales, their sales teams, growth teams, field marketing teams, event marketers, where the ultimate agenda is to drive relationships that result in revenue or an ROI. Lesser so doing like team building and fun happy hours.
Hiring?
What's that? Yeah.
Hiring vertical? Yeah.
Yeah, we a little bit. What's obviously, HR departments have much higher price sensitivities, lower budgets, whereas sales and revenue driving, teams of an org have a lot more to spend. So that's really like to sort of also a differentiator from a lot of our, our competitors out there. It's much higher pressure, much more demanding, much higher level of service, production value. So we have a whole in-house production team of technical producers that are well-versed in all of the virtual technology, really staying at the bleeding edge of what's, evolving there constantly in real time. And we have, a sort of a customer service team that really helps our clients build a run of show that takes into account the type of business goals they have while wrapping it up in this hospitality experience. I always say Vin Social is kind of the hook, right? Where you get the audience there, but what are they there to do? It's there to, forge deeper relationships with clients or key accounts or, get a prospect over the line and want to buy by feeling like they've been wined and dined.
And so, yeah, what does that look like in practice? Like if I'm a kind of potential Google customer looking to spend like $100,000 on ads, this month, and I go to a Vin Social event, what does it look like?
Yeah, so we essentially for our client will build a branded registration page for them in advance where they can direct their invitees to sign up, where they'll get sort of the details on what to expect. We then develop all the email comms pre-event related to, once someone's RSVP'd. We work with their team to, like I said, develop their run of show, brand the platform, help them, organize their content, whatever they want to share. And then, of course, we are also providing the talent. So a sommelier from our team, or a mixologist, or whatever expert is really going to be the host. We facilitate the fulfillment of all the product in advance. So think of it like, beautiful custom gifting that goes out to all the attendees. And we have a lot of, systems that happen behind the scenes to make that all happen seamlessly, allowing the customer to put their brand in the box as well on, custom bits and bobs. And then, of course, the guests all come together for a really educational, but also entertaining 30, 45, or 60-minute program. All of our programs are actually built around brands specifically. These are all small craft alcohol beverage brands, independent businesses, 90% of which have either women or underrepresented founders, makers, leaders at the helm. So it's really about the discovery of the unknown and bringing really cool up and coming brands into the homes and glasses of these high value audiences.
That's one of my favorite things about Vin Social are the makers that you guys find. And I want to dig into that. But first, while we're kind of talking about the core business, I think it's really interesting because when I first talked to you guys, maybe back in 2020, I think it was, you had a completely different business, or a lot of the business was different. And so I'm hoping you can dig a little bit more into the pivot, a lot of which I assume is driven by COVID, and how you kind of ramped up because this seems like a really awesome niche that you guys are in now.
Yeah, I mean, prior to the COVID era, I was doing this essentially physically in physical spaces. Companies were hiring me to come into their office space or, secure a venue to produce a really highly curated wine experience, essentially. And there's a scalability issue with that inherently, like doing physical events is a lot harder. You've got to have team on the ground. And so we were actually trying to figure out how do we scale what we do nationally? Do we build teams in key markets? And then the answer was sort of delivered to us on a silver platter with COVID and the rapid adoption by necessity of virtual events. And in a way, it kind of allowed us to realize our mission of democratization of access, which is to these makers, really sort of bringing the trade access to the end consumer in a way that was really scalable and less limited by geographical restrictions, right? And or means. And what we've seen too, from the client's perspective is that, in 2019, they never would have thought about a virtual event potentially being more effective than an in-person event. And what we're seeing is that when you make it easier for the guests to say yes, they're going to attend. And so we get super, super high participation, acceptance rate to join, but then actual showing up in participation and attendance. So COVID 100%, it was really the spark that lit the flame. Literally sort of regrouped, completely relaunched our whole, business offering in mid 2020 and exploded from $0 in revenue to over $1 million. So it was also building the plane while flying it because I didn't really have a full operation. I didn't really have the tech infrastructure to support it. It all happened because we were just sort of at the right place at the right time with all the right ingredients. And we quickly rewrote the recipe, put ourselves out there with some LinkedIn ads, and it was explosive. We had overnight like 500 inbound leads. So we didn't actually do any marketing in 2021. Still feasting off of that initial sort of flood. So it really was just sort of about, we caught the wave. We had the surfboard, we were in the water, and we caught the wave.
Wow.
I love it. On this podcast, we're always really interested in hearing about the kind of capital journey of founders, right? So can you talk about a little about that? Like, how have you raised capital for Vin Social and then coming into the WeFunder round?
Yeah, I'm a first-time founder, so I'd never raised capital before. And WeFunder was really sort of the kickstart of it. We had started our fundraising journey through a network. I'm very fortunate. I have an extraordinary network through myself and my husband, who's my business partner. So I had great advisors bringing us into conversations early stage. But it was a difficult sell to VCs at the time, because it was like a brand new thing. We're like trying to sell you on this thing that literally just came to be, and there was no comparables, no way to, like, no one was really confident that virtual events were going to be enduring. So I said, well, hey, I've got this amazing network. I learned about WeFunder, had no idea about crowdfunding. We did due diligence on that as a potential sort of scenario and way of raising capital, vetted all you guys and all the competitors, and talked to people that had raised money on WeFunder. And we just figured it was going to be the path of least resistance, given the fact that we really knew we needed to get a community behind us. And so that's what we did. And it was crazy. It was a wild ride for sure. I mean, I was fortunate. I had through a relationship, an angel that got us started with the first $100,000 in the campaign. And he was just super easygoing and said, sure, I'll put it into WeFunder so you can kick off with 100K. So that's how we did it. And today I haven't raised any capital yet. I mean, we're literally so revenue positive that we haven't had the need to raise capital. I've gotten some like non-dilutive debt financing to keep, topping up and fueling us. But we're starting to think about what's next and thinking about what is the next fundraise, and yay.
Yeah, always a little daunting, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. I'm like, oh man, I got to gear up for this again. Okay.
yeah. I just pulled up some of the, we call them love letters casually, I guess, like the what people say from your investors. And a lot of people, I'm passionate about supporting female founders. I believe in Sara and her vision, super excited about this. People commenting, they love running online events, didn't realize it could be so engaging when you add the wine. I wish you really good luck, Sara, with your business. So a lot of people who are super excited and now part of your community. Have you seen any like tangible results from your community in terms of engaging them in any way or getting referrals to their companies that they work at?
Yeah, definitely. Several of our investors have referred us business, which has been awesome. We actually I think it was last week, we hosted our first Vin Social for our investor community. So we gave them sort of the experience that we give our, our clients. It was really fun. It was really, just like a happy moment to like see these people and have them finally really kind of get to touch and feel what we do, taste the product, see the packaging, hear from Lily and I, ask questions. So, that's something that we hope to continue to do. And something that's on the horizon for us very shortly, hopefully Q2, is the relaunch of our consumer facing side of our business. So we've been really focused on operationalizing, fine tuning what we're doing B2B, as that's driving all of the revenue. But we see that all of that, all this infrastructure, the product, the program, needs to also be repackaged for the consumer audience. So the individual can come to Vin Social and purchase the wine, have the educational experience, have the access to the makers. So I think hopefully our investors are very excited to kind of beta test that and be our early, subscribers to the new Vin Social.
What are some lessons that you kind of learned, you and you to raising capital on a platform like this, raising from your community, from unaccredited investors? I mean, as you say, this is first time founder, but what are some of the lessons that you learned about process, running a community around that maybe kind of coming into it, you maybe weren't aware of?
Yeah, I think we weren't necessarily aware of the very, very similar nature of almost launching a product. Like it's so heavily marketing necessity, right? And really being loud and multi-channel, and it's a lot of work, right? Like it doesn't just happen. It's not a magic, easy button, unfortunately. And we realized that, the bulk of our investors came through our network or our network's network. So, I think understanding that out the gate, that, it's important to always be, collecting and really fostering an active community and a network that you can call on. What do you need?
Got it. What kind of tactics? So as you say, like it's a product launch, it's a big marketing push. What kind of tactics did you find to be most effective?
I mean, I'd say a lot of it was, just lots of personalized emails from me to my network, and, asking my network to share a lot.
How many? Do you know how many personalized emails you sent?
Oh God, I don't know. Hundreds, I'm sure.
Hundreds? Yeah, I'm always kind of someone. So I was chatting to a YC founder. This was a couple of years ago, and he went through a Y Combinator, and then he was pitching investors after demo day. And I was like, how many investors did you meet with? And he told me he met with 100 investors before he got the first check. 100 in-person meetings with investors, and it's like, yeah, fundraising is hard. And then sometimes I'll be talking to a founder who's on WeFunder, and I'm like, have you reached out to your personal network, kind of personalized, email outreach? And they're like, oh yeah, I've done that. It's like, oh, how many emails did you send? And like 20. And it's like, try again.
It's a numbers game at the end of the day, right?
Try adding a zero to that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was that. I think also, the creating content to that was very, warm and engaging. We produced a great video with Lily and I, but also just having our advisors and people that come with clout and amazing networks themselves, asking them to record a short video testimonial on why they believe in us. One of my advisory board members is a CMO of our Publishers Clearinghouse, was, a VP at Gilt Group, and lots of great brands. So leveraging their clout was also, I think, important, and really putting together in advance an incredibly impressive advisory board that was willing to go out and also be vocal about their involvement.
I think that's a really key point. I remember on the podcast a few episodes ago, we had Renji Bajoy, the CEO of Immerse, and he told me that he got this, I can't remember what he called them. It's like a council or his super squad or something. He had some name for it. But it was, hit 20 of his closest people. And whenever he did a marketing push, he would text them and be like, okay, now is the time to share it, get it trending in that LinkedIn algorithm. And that if you can recruit a core team of people, in your case, your advisory council or board members, just even close friends who are really willing to help you, and they can be your marketing team, not in they're going to do hours and hours of work, but at least they're going to help you promote and get the word out. Then rather than just you doing it, you're kind of getting the leverage. I think that's incredibly valuable tactic. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's just networking. Like I said, it's figuring out how to proliferate. I'm a member of Chief. That was helpful too. I found a couple of really cool investors through there, being able to post, there's an angel investing, segment on the private app. So just putting that out there, and women want to support women, and we're in the same organization. So that was also something that was valuable.
That's awesome. Yeah. Classic on our team, who you may have seen, he records all of these really amazing WeFunder videos, talks a lot about the kind of network effect. So using not only your immediate network, but your network's network. And I think, yeah, it's really cool that you were able to leverage that and find a lot of success from that, from your network. I want to shift a little bit and go back to the suppliers. This is the most exciting part for me, because I think it's so amazing how you find a lot of these suppliers and are able to highlight them on such a large scale. So yeah, can you just talk to us a little bit about that, how you wove the mission into the business from the beginning, and how you continue to locate these really awesome suppliers?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a driving mission within Social to use our platform to elevate the voices of these craft artisans. It's an extraordinarily competitive landscape to be a small maker in this vast sea, which is heavily, heavily dominated by big guys, big private equity firms that, the little guys have a pretty steep climb to compete. And so, we really wanted to always be a place for customers to discover these small hidden gems that are really difficult. They're like a needle in a haystack. These aren't brands you're likely to find at your corner liquor store. They often get buried on restaurant wine lists or in, on the shelves, dusty shelves. So we from the beginning, I've always said, we only allow small, like craft scale artisans into Vin Socials. And, of course, now we're really supporting a diversity and inclusivity by prioritizing those that have, women and underrepresented founders. So essentially, the way we work now is we sort of serve these craft brands as an alternative sales and marketing channel, right? So we partner with them. We build all of our virtual events are built around a single brand. So you're getting a 30, 45, 60-minute immersive experience, learning the story of this brand, the maker, the place, and then having this interactive exploration, tactical, like sensory exploration of the product itself through the tasting. And so for them, especially in a time when, these small brands heavily rely on their tasting rooms, or they were heavily reliant on restaurants, and all that vanished overnight. So really being able to be this alternative source to sell product direct to consumer, and then be sort of an extension of their brand out there, like an evangelist with them, for them, telling their story in a very rich and deep way, has been really meaningful for them. I mean, on our WeFunder campaign, we actually had a few of the winemakers be, almost emotionally testify how impactful it's been to partner with us. So that's really the MO for Vin Social going forward, is like, how do we really become a very powerful platform for craft brands going forward, whether they're, new to the market or they're looking to scale. How do we essentially connect them to this high value audience in a way that's more than just, here's a bottle at a store, or it's like really forging, hopefully, some deeper affinity and loyalty to the brand, and more so than the brand, like the story of the person who made it,
Yeah, that's so important. I feel like when it comes to like the craft beverage scene, is that storytelling along with it. And especially when you guys are able to roll out the more B2C function, when the logistics are figured out, that's going to be huge. And a game changer, I'm sure, for a lot of these really small makers.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, and so how do we find them? Listen, I've been in this business a long time, so it was easy in the beginning. Like, I'm just like, I cherry pick you. I want you. I mean, we don't charge them to participate. It's not like I'm not like doing a B2B revenue play with these brand partners. I'm just like, hey, we love you. We want to tell your story. Like, let's collaborate on your program. And then once that's done, we're out there, selling your brand, selling your products. But now we're getting a lot of inbound interest, obviously, because, we're much more out there. So a lot of craft brands hit me up on LinkedIn or via email or whatever. So we have a nice pipeline of brands as we grow, because that's been really important. We've actually widened our program offering because we have so much recurring business from clients who want to come back and do the next thing. So being able to constantly feed them with new programs, new brands, is awesome, because that allows us to keep adding more brands to our kind of quote brand family and keep expanding that, which, today expands in, beyond wine to craft whiskeys, mixology, coffee, sake, cheese, all kinds of things beyond wine, culture and food wise.
That's really cool. Looking forward, like, what are the biggest kind of challenges that you're facing right now, and what do you see around the corner in 2022?
Challenges, I mean, I'd say, really right now we're heavily involved in relaunching our whole new online platform. So I'm going through a tech build as a non-technical founder. Fortunately, found some great people who are on the project. So it's really just gearing up, sort of re-go to market for the B2C side of the business, and really sort of, I would say, rethinking what an online wine and spirit shopping experience can be. The last thing the internet needs is another online wine store. So how do we do it in the very Vin Social way, experience forward? So it involves a lot of technology, of course, because that's what we do. So that's the biggest thing we're up against now. And it's always with every founder, it's like fuel in the tank from either revenue and sales or, capital. So
cool.
Those are just the big things.
That's really exciting. Well, I just wanted to pick up on one other thing you mentioned earlier, just when you were talking about, like, for these smaller, non-private equity backed, vineyards and winemakers, as you say, like, well, tasting rooms are closed, and that's like super high margin sales, right? Probably small volume, but super high margin for them.
Yep.
And secondly, restaurants are like totally decimated.
Yeah.
So, and I understand, I think I've heard like that, alcohol sales in general over the last 2 years kind of went up as everyone needed to drown their sorrows from the craziness of the world in 2020 and 2021. So maybe that mitigates it. But in balance, like, has this just been an absolutely terrible time for winemakers, or has the wine industry kind of been pretty resilient through the last 2 years?
It kind of depends, I would say. Like those wineries that already had a strong D2C, their own kind of e-commerce channel, they were okay, right?
Well
Those
played.
that were those
For them, maybe that was an upside because now that channel grew, and so they already had those distribution relationships, so they could actually grow because of that.
You got it, exactly, because there was a massive, massive increase on consumers. First-time consumers buying wine online happened in 2020. Like it was like this digital transformation that was already underway.
Right.
But now everyone's like, oh, I can buy wine online. Holy shit, this is awesome. And now I can find way more things that are than what my local liquor store stocks, right? So any winery that was really heavily leveraged into the wholesale tier, and specifically restaurant focus, which a lot of small wineries do, because they want their wine in restaurants where the som is going to talk about it versus like, getting lost on some, retail shelf. Right. So it was kind of like, where were they at with their own online channel? I think a lot of people did great, and then a lot of people were floundering, but overall, as an industry, up.
Sara, I think a few seconds ago when you said "holy shit," you may have been the first ever guest to swear on this podcast.
Oh God, I don't want to be that notorious.
Consider a swearing policy before this episode, but we're gonna have to. Me and Kapow are probably, we're gonna have to meet as a committee and like think about what about our swear word policy will be. Maybe we'll get that little E in the gray box that comes up on podcasts. I feel like that's a mark of kudos. So
sorry about that. Sometimes it just flies out when I get excited.
And Classic wants to start putting these on YouTube, the recordings, and so we'll need a little black box that can bleep over so you can.
Yes,
this
is a great first for the podcast.
Far worse swear words on this podcast than any guest, so it's fine.
Apologies.
No worries.
Not necessary.
Okay, well,
you're like moving on.
I know. Moving on. So this is a question that we always like to end with to wrap it up. We ask every guest on the podcast, what is your biggest piece of advice for another entrepreneur?
I would have to say, it's really having perspective and resilience at the end of the day, but also being receptive to pivot, to change. One of my investor advisors wisely said, it's better to be curious than certain, because, if it weren't for us being very agile and willing to sort of seize a moment and kind of rethink everything we were doing, we wouldn't be where we are, right? It's being able to take advantage of that moment, that COVID moment that could have been just like lights out for Vin Social. And it was actually sort of just the next phase and really the wave that we needed to catch. So.
Yeah, we've seen that, and we found it as well. It's one of the things I really like about us and Nick. The SEC rolled out some rule changes in March of 2021 that allow companies to use this testing the waters thing, launch a campaign really quickly. And we were basically, as far as I can tell, the only company in the space, the only platform to really lean into that. And we were kind of looking around like, why isn't other people kind of using this as well? And I think it's been a real kind of differentiation and advantage for us over the last year. So yeah, awesome advice. being open to pivot, be agile, kind of chase after the new opportunity as it presents itself. Love it. Sara, this has been a really fun interview. Thanks for sharing your time with us. And where can people go to check out Vin Social if they work in the sales team at some big Fortune 500 company?
Absolutely. Yeah. Find us at vinsocial.co. And also, find me on LinkedIn. It's my platform of choice, super accessible. Send me a DM, Sara Moll, on LinkedIn.
Amazing.
Awesome. We're not Fortune 500, but we need to get WeFunder set up for a Vin Social experience.
Yeah, I want one.
Let's do it. In game.
Thanks, Sara. Bye.
Thank you so much, Sara.
Thank you for tuning into another episode of Venture Capital. I hope you laughed, took notes, shed a tear, and most importantly, feel ready to go off on your own adventure. And remember, whenever you're ready, WeFunder's here to help. Be sure to like and leave a review, gang.